1 week from today, Austin City Council members are set to vote on a long-term employment contract with the Austin Police Association, something the city hasn't had in about a year and a half. Leaders say there's a balance to be struck between having a deal that can help with recruitment and having something that can help with police accountability here in Austin. KVUE senior reporter Tony Plohetski joins us now to break down how we got to this point. Tony?
Hey, Jenny, the path to get to this point has actually been years in the making. It's a very important issue. There's a lot at stake, so we wanted to bring in two people who have been deeply involved, both directly and indirectly, in the crafting of this proposed contract. I want to introduce our two guests, Michael Bullock, who is the president of the Austin Police Association, the group with whom the city would be in the contract with, and Kathy Mitchell. She's a senior advisor for Equity Action. And Kathy, I know that you have spent hours monitoring the labor negotiations over the past many months. There's a lot to unpack here, and we're going to go deeper into some of the key issues. But I want to start with asking both of you, and Kathy, I'll start with you, just sort of your broad overall assessment of this proposed contract. Why is it good for Austin or bad for Austin in your estimation?
So I think that this contract is very expensive, and we need to have a real dialogue about public safety and all of the various kinds of workers that together make us a safe community. And establishing kind of a baseline for how much those various workers should still get to be paid after this contract gets very complicated. So at a first level, we think that police are important, and also many other kinds of workers are important. And this is a balance.
So there's an economic issue that we'll talk about, but you've also said, generally, again, we're going to go deeper into this, but that it doesn't really move the ball adequately enough with regard to police oversight.
There are several provisions that we have concerns about. We were the organization that originally got put on the ballot the Austin Police Oversight Act. And it was very carefully crafted to produce, frankly, what I think of as a kind of middle-of-the-road standard civilian oversight system, which in Austin we've never had. So for us, it was a big step forward. And so we are very protective of the gains that we made with the passage of that ordinance. And I would also say that the contract is sometimes seen as sort of the answer to all of our police problems. You know, oversight and better pay are part of that picture, but you know, we've had issues that have affected officers leaving the force in the first couple of years, attrition at the police academy. You know, there are a number of other issues that are not really even in the conversation right now that are perhaps more directly relevant to how many officers we have on a day-to-day basis. And I think that we just need to understand that this particular conversation should be appropriately scoped. It's not going to solve all our problems.
Michael, I know you and your membership have a very different position and believe that this contract does advance policing in Austin and does fulfill a lot of the desires of the rank and file.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, appreciate you being willing to have this conversation. I think it is important, and the association, we have never shied away from accountability, including making sure that the public is well aware of what we do, how we do it, and what is in this contract. So I do think this is an important conversation. I do believe that this contract strikes the balance that many have been looking for. We have removed every obstacle to the Austin Police Oversight Act being implemented, right? There are no barriers. The city attorney has certified that it is in compliance with the ordinance was passed. And statistics and history shows us that I believe that there is a direct correlation to the impact a contract has with staffing and with our crime rate. We have seen since 2017, when one of our first contracts was voted down, one of the first contracts to be voted down, in 2017, every year since then, we have lost more officers than we have gained at the department. That was the genesis of our staffing crisis. And we've also seen that the contract is a key component in being able to recruit and retain. But from a criminal aspect as well, we've also seen that, taking our homicide rate in particular, that as our staffing has gone down, we've also seen a correlating increase in our homicide rate. Now, criminal justice is a complex issue. You can't say that that is definitively the only reason our homicide rate is going up. But since 2018 as well, we've seen a spike in our homicide rate. We've already had around 50 this year, and we're not even through the year. And then we've seen that in one of the latest reports that came out that was sent to City Council and the mayor, that our homicide rate is above the Texas and the U.S. average for a population our size. So those are all concerning trends, and they've all happened as we've had contractual turmoil, we've had fewer officers, and there's a larger competition going on right now across the entire country. We don't just compete in the Texas labor market. We don't just compete in the Central Texas labor market. We're trying to find people who want to join law enforcement all across the country. So we're competing with cities and states all over the country.
So I want to ask you, Michael, since there has been a lot of conversation, a key point in this contract is the issue of what is called the G file. So for people who maybe don't know what that means, the city has maintained a file of allegations and investigations of officer misconduct that did not result in at least 1 day of suspension. There have been efforts, sustained efforts over time to make those files public, and this contract addresses that. So I just want to ask you, are you in agreement with the city, and do you believe that this contract opens those files retroactively, presently, and in the future?
Yes, we acknowledge that fact, right? And it's a combination of things. It's not just the contract that does that, right? The key thing is that a Travis County District Court judge ruled that the city is to end its use of a G file. That was a court ruling. We acknowledge that. And so that is the way that plays into the contract, is that we acknowledge that prior to the effective date of the contract, because the Constitution, the Texas Constitution prohibits us from passing retroactive and retrospective laws and contracts. So we have to use state law and court rulings prior to the adoption of a contract to govern material that was created at that time. Prospectively, we do agree, and in this contract it says that we would no longer keep a G file. So I acknowledge that court ruling. We may not always agree with those court rulings, but that's all to be hashed out through the courts. This contract does not impact that, right? So I do agree that that is the case. That is the way the law stands right now.
I want to ask, oh yeah, Kathy, absolutely.
So glad to hear that that's your position. Our concern is that the language in the contract is deeply unclear. And what will happen, and we know this because it's happened before, is that if language in the contract is unclear and an officer files a grievance, then it goes to an arbitrator. At that point, the arbitrator looks at the terms in the contract. The decision is about what do the words on the page say in the contract. And if APA is comfortable with the description you just gave, and I would certainly be happy, I think it would be great to have a clarification in that language so that all sides are reading the same thing when they see the words, and we all have confidence that this isn't going to end up in front of yet another decision maker to do more with that.
I do want to quickly talk about the economics, which I know we touched on. Officers would get a 28% raise on average over the next 5 years. The cost is $217 million, almost $18 million estimated. The union that represents about 4,500 workers has denounced the contract, essentially saying, the proposed contract, saying that it is just going to be too expensive. Michael, what is your response to that?
I mean, I would clarify, like they have not come out in opposition to the contract. They've just said that they have concerns about it. And I get that, right? But that's where it falls to the city manager. That's where it falls to the city manager to be able to say that this is sound, and that's what we rely on when we're bargaining at the table, right? That's a big part of that. So I understand that, but there have been times where the department has foregone pay raises altogether, where others have gotten it. And it is crucial in dealing with the staffing crisis and a public safety crisis that we be able to retain the officers that we have now and recruit new ones. In order for us to be competitive, we're going to have to be willing to invest in this. That's the only way we're going to be able to attract new people to come here.
Michael and Kathy, we are running
May
out of...
I respond?
Yes, please, quickly, yes.
Quickly. Austin police officers are highly compensated compared to comparable cities in Texas already. And the issue is really that this contract, because of the size of our department and how it compares to the rest of the city budget, those raises actually result in so much money being needed to pay for them over time that by the time we're looking at the out years, we're in deficit, and also we're at a place where other departments are probably facing cuts. And I don't think that that has been fully fleshed out. The cost estimate hasn't even been released to the public yet. So we look forward to having a very robust discussion about that.
A lot at stake, a lot of issues on the table, very complex and very important issues, not just for next year or the following year, but for many years to come in our city, which is why I'm so thankful to both of you for taking your time to come in to discuss this with us. Kathy Mitchell from Equity Action, Michael Bullock, President of the Austin Police Association. Yeah. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.